everyone, it's Samantha from the Dancing Soap Dish. I hope you're well. Today's Melt and Pour soap project will be these gorgeous star patterned soap bars. And because Independence Day is not too far away, I decided to use red, white and blue colouring to make them 4th of July themed. So I think these are really quite spectacular. See, they've got a blue and a red stripe down the center as well. There's also a great sparkle, bit of some diamond mica in the blue and the red as well, and they look very festive, very sparkly, and very 4th of July. So I made these soap bars as a slab in this 6 by 6 inch square mold. It's about 15 by 15 centimeters in metric. And the first step is quite easy. What I'm going to do is just pour a white layer. So I have some white melt and pour soap base here. I'm weighing out 200 grams plus a couple of cubes extra for wastage. And I'm going to melt that down in the microwave. Once that is melted, I will be adding some essential oils to scent the soap. So I've chosen Bergamot mint essential oil. Bergamot mint is a herb belonging to the mint family, obviously. It has a subtle mint scent and also a bit of a hint of citrus as well. And I really like it. I think it makes a really good soap scent. So I'm stirring that in. I always scent my soap at a rate of 1.25%, so that's what I've used here today as well. Before I pour, I'm going to give the mold a spray down with some isopropyl alcohol, just to break up the surface tension and to help the soap move freely across the surface of the soap mold. There we go. So pouring all my soap in and giving the jug a good scrape out because I don't like to waste any. Once that's done, I will give the soap one final spray with the isopropyl alcohol to remove any surface bubbles, and I will put the soap aside to fully set. Once the soap is set, the next step is to cut out some star shapes. So I have some star-shaped cookie cutters here in a variety of different sizes. I'm not going to use all of these sizes today. I'll probably just pick out maybe the smallest 3 stars to use. I also dug out some smaller metal star-shaped cookie cutters, the smaller the better, that I had in my collection. And I'll be using these today as well. So I'm going to start with the largest sized cookie cutter here today. I'm not going to put the star in the middle, but more sort of up, in a corner maybe. Look, I don't normally recommend using plastic cookie cutters. In fact, in some videos, I expressly warn against it. Because they're not as sharp as metal cookie cutters, and you could see it was really hard for me to actually cut that star out. So the larger cookie cutters are the hardest ones to use when you're trying to cut soap. The smaller ones work quite well. If you can get some metal ones, absolutely, the metal ones are superior for cutting. But as you can see here, I did manage to use the plastic ones. You can also check on the back that it's gone all the way through just by turning over the mold. Because plastic was all I had on hand when I wanted to make these, so I just made do. So basically I'm cutting out a bunch of stars, concentric stars as well, so like stars and then smaller stars inside my stars, just filling up the entire space with star patterns. I've also just got a wooden spoon here that I'm sort of using just to give my fingers a rest when I'm trying to push down some of the cookie cutters, because your thumbs can get a bit sore doing this. Okay, so here we have the entire surface of the soap covered in stars. And the next thing I did was to plan out what colours I would use and which colour each star would be. So this is a 4th of July themed star soap, but I mean, you could make this with any colours you wanted. Gold would look amazing, beautiful gold stars. Or just any specific color theme that you're wanting to try. Basically, I used the skewer to sort of mark the back of the stars, some with an X, some with a dot. X was for the blue and dots were for red, and I sort of planned out what color each star was going to be. And then I used the bamboo skewer to remove all the stars that were going to be red, all the parts of the soap that was going to be red. So I've taken out everything that I want to be red because that's the next color of soap that I'm going to mix up. Okay, so an easy way to do this is to actually just weigh out all of the scraps that I just took out of my soap. Find out how much that weighs, and then that's how much soap base I will need to fill up those same shapes. I'm also adding an extra 100 grams for my red soap layer that I want in the center of my bar, and I've melted down a transparent melt and pour soap base this time. I'm adding 2 drops of titanium dioxide in glycerin just to make the soap a little bit more opaque. I have here some more Bergamot mint essential oil to scent this soap, and I also have 3 colors of mica, so my red, white and blue that I'm going to be using for the coloring. So I will be adding red. I'm going to add it to my essential oil just to help it disperse more readily into the soap. So I've got 4 scoops here of my red mica, and I also have this diamond mica. It's got these beautiful diamond particles in it with a beautiful shimmer. I'm just adding 1 scoop of that, mixing it all up into my essential oil, and then pouring that into my soap using some alcohol to just make sure I can get all of that out of my little glass, and giving that a good stir. Now at this point I thought, I think I've added a little bit too much titanium dioxide because it's not as red as I was hoping. So I did have to add a couple more scoops of the red to try and counteract that. I think I'll add less titanium dioxide to the blue layer. But I was happy with this color now, and it's starting to set up, so I need to move quickly. So I've got a shot glass size paper cup that I'm going to use to do my pouring. Just pinch the edge to get a spout. I use these a lot because I find they're really good for pouring small amounts accurately. I don't know what went wrong, but for some reason the soap was sort of running down the side of my cup, and then when I was trying to have a look at what was wrong, I ended up tipping it out the other way. I made a right mess, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But I wasn't too worried about it because the next layer I planned on doing was red anyway, so I wasn't worried about all that red I spilled. And, you know, quite frankly, if I wasn't planning on doing red, I probably would have changed my mind at this stage and changed it to red. But I ended up just using another paper cup because I'm really not sure what went wrong with that first one. See, this is how it's supposed to work. You just pinch the paper cup and it makes a really fine pouring spout to get into tight spots, which is what I was trying to do the first time round. But I did have a bit of a spill, so for those people who always think I do everything perfectly, here is evidence to the contrary. But I decided to just continue filling up my red stars, and I'd have to clean up the mess a little while later. So I have some red soap base left over for the red layer that I want to do. I'm not ready for that yet, so I'm just tipping it into this paper cup here so I can reuse it later. If you've got a spare soap mold on hand, you can just pour it into a spare soap mold as well. That will also work. So I'm just going to put this aside for the time being. So next, I'm going to pop out the stars that are going to be blue. I can fill up my blue stars. So again, I'm just using my bamboo skewer to pry out the areas of my soap that I want to be blue. I did have to fix up a couple of areas where the red soap had sort of sealed shut some of the star cuts that I had made. So I cut them through again, and I also just did a little bit of cleaning up just to make sure I got red soap that was in a spot where it wasn't supposed to be that might interfere with my blue, sort of clean that up out of the way as well. So for the blue, I followed the exact same process as I did for the red. I weighed out the scraps so I knew how much transparent soap base I'll need to fill up my blue star sections. And I also added another 100 grams for a blue layer in the center of the soap. So I'm melting this down now. And again, I'm just going to add 1 drop of titanium dioxide this time instead of 2. I think that will be better. And another 4 scoops of blue mica, which I will be mixing into my Bergamot mint essential oil, as well as a scoop of the diamond mica, which just went in there at the beginning. The diamond mica has little flecks of silver in it. It's not glitter per se, it's definitely mica. They're very light. but they do tend to sink to the bottom, which actually works quite well in this case because, the bottom ends up being the top of the soap. And it's reminiscent of like twinkling starlight or fireworks or something. I find it goes really well with the stars, so it looks really good. All right, so I've mixed that up and I've got myself a little paper shot glass again. Hopefully this doesn't go as badly as the red did. And I'm going to fill up very carefully all of the cutout sections that I want to be blue. This cup's giving me trouble again, but I'm not going to let it make a mess like it did last time. There we go. So just fill up all these blue sections here. And I'm definitely trying to do this a lot more neatly because I don't want blue everywhere because my next layer is going to be the red. And I forgot that I actually wanted to cut out a little star here to have a blue star inside a red star. So there we go, just quickly cut that out there and filled that up. But that's looking pretty good. So again, I'm just going to pour the rest of this blue soap into a paper cup so I can use it again later. I will need to wait for those blue stars to fully set before I can pour the next layer. So before I put the soap aside to set up, I'm just going to very carefully clean up any of the blue soap that's ended up where it shouldn't have. I was very careful and I tried to be very neat, but if there's any sort of little spillages or anything that's sort of seeped out on top of the white, just clean it up at this stage because I don't want any of the blue outside the lines. Okay, so the soap in my star cutouts is fully set now. Let's turn it over. It's great how you can have a look at the back and sort of see what the design looks like. I think that's really cool. This blue star here, I want to have a red star in the center of that one. So again, I'm getting my smallest metal cookie cutter and I am going to punch out another star. There we go. When I do my next layer of red, oh, look how sparkly that is. When I do my next layer of red, the red will fill up that star shape and I'll have a red star inside the blue star, which is what I want. So what I'm going to do is take the leftover soap and cut it out of the paper cup that I poured it into and just very quickly slice up that soap. I'm going to put it back in the jug that I first initially used to melt it down and I'm going to melt it down again. It's already scented and it's already coloured, so all I need to do is just give it a stir, make sure there's no lumps in it, give the surface of my soap a good spray down with the isopropyl alcohol and pour that layer of red right on top. Just like that. And a spray to get rid of the surface bubbles and wait for it to set. Once it has set, I can do the same with the blue. I've removed my extra blue soap from the paper cup. I am cutting it down and I am going to melt it down again. Give it a quick stir just to check that there's no lumps in it. Spray down the surface of my soap and pour my layer of blue. Again, another spray to get rid of any bubbles, and I'll put that aside to set as well. When the blue layer is set and cool to the touch, it's time for the final layer. Take all of the star scraps that you have and pop them back in your jug. Then add some more soap base to make up the total amount to 200 grams, plus a few extra cubes for wastage, because the last layer is going to be 200 grams of white melt and pour soap. Take note of how much extra base you had to add because you will need to top up your essential oil in order to scent that extra soap base, which you can see me doing here. And then once you've done that, just pour the final layer and that is it done. So give it one final spray and let that slab set at least overnight. It was actually a couple of days before I got back to mine just because I had other things going on. Let's take a look at it from the back. I'm really loving how these stars turned out. That blue one there's a little crooked, but the red one came out okay. Let's unmold it. So I'm just easing it out of the mold. There we go. Let's take a look at it. I'm really loving the stars and the colours of this, especially that silver fleck that you can see in the red and the blue. I think the 4th of July colours are spot on, but again, you could see how it would also be a great soap using any other colours for the stars. Let's take a look at the stripes down the middle. Here we have our red stripe and our blue stripe. Just gives the side of the soap just a little bit of interest there. I'm loving that too. It's time now to cut this slab of soap up. I do have here a ball-tipped stylus that I'm going to be using just to mark it out, along with a ruler here. So I'm just going to cut it down the middle, both horizontally and vertically, at the 3-inch mark. I did sort of toy around with maybe cutting it into 6 bars rather than 4, but I felt the star design worked better cut into 4 bars, so that's what I ended up deciding on. And I also think beveling the edges would just make these look nice and neat and tidy. So I'm going to bevel the top and the bottom edges. There we go. And that will mean beveling through some of the stars, but I think it'll still look fine. Let's have a look. Yeah, see, I think that looks much neater now. It really looks like a perfect bar of soap. There we go. Let me just finish beveling up the rest of them. Yeah, so there's some of the stars beveled through on the side there, but you can still see the star shape. It still works. So that's not an issue. There we go. Oh, and I like these little soap curls you get from the beveling as well. I'm going to keep those. I'll be able to do something with those. Oh, they smell amazing too. They really do smell nice. Okay, let's have a look at these beautiful star 4th of July melt and pour soap bars. You can see a little bit of a fleck in the side layers as well, a little bit of a sparkle, some starlight there. Just gorgeous. I really love these. Well, I really hoped you enjoyed watching me make these beautiful star patterned melt and pour soap bars, a special 4th of July edition. Try making these soap bars yourself, or tell me in the comments what other colour combinations you think would work really well with this type of soap design. Please like and subscribe if you love what I do here at The Dancing Soap Dish. And until next time, guys, enjoy.